Welcome to Frequency Matters, the RF and Microwave Update Series. I'm Pat Hindle. I'm here with my co-host Gary LaRude. In this episode, we're going to continue our coverage of the European Microwave Week themed issue, which is August. As a reminder, the cover features written by Helen Duncan did a great job on laying the landscape of RF and microwave companies in France, as the event takes place the first week in October in Paris. So, great place to visit. We also have coverage of the conferences, the special sessions, and the products that will be featured in the exhibition. Microwave Journal will again be hosting the industry session, which is in the Defense, Space, and Security Forum, and that's on Wednesday. We'll be following the Strategy Analytics session on Lunch and Learn, and we'll be featuring talks from Qorvo, EuMW, Rohde & Schwarz, and National Instruments on new radio architectures for satellite communications.
Cool.
So it should be a good one to catch.
Yeah.
So we covered the technical features last time. How about products?
So we have 3 product features this time. First one is really interesting from Analog Devices. It's a chipset that covers the 5G millimeter wave bands from 24 to 30 gigahertz. And it has the beamformer, 16-channel beamformer, which I think is the largest number of channels we've seen so far. A couple variations on that for single polarization or dual polarization. Then that's followed by the up and down converter, and then of course the analog to digital, digital to analog converters. So this literally is from bits to antenna, a complete chipset. So pretty impressive. Our second product feature is from Huber-Suhner. It's a new cable assembly. This is interesting because they're using a proprietary process that they call rotary swaging. I'd never heard of that before. I had to look it up. But it basically is a mechanical process that allows them to get a very smooth circular interconductor. And the electrical result of that is it's very low insertion loss, and maybe more importantly, very stable phase, even by flexing the cable. Wow. So it's a great cable assembly for test and measurement applications, particularly precision vector network analyzer measurements. And then Rohde & Schwarz is our third product feature. They have a feature that you can add to their VCO tester and phase noise measurement analyzer, and this allows you to assess radar pulse stability. So for people that are working with pulse systems and you want to know the stability of sequences of pulses, this is a good option. So how about tech briefs?
So tech briefs, we had a 100 kilohertz to 18 gigahertz programmable frequency divider from Gusick. We also had a 1 megahertz to 18 gigahertz balun that's surface mount from Hyperlabs. And finally, we had a new family of full band power amplifiers from Virginia Diodes, and those cover bands from 60 to 260 gigahertz.
That's
so
amazing.
Very high frequency.
Yeah, very impressive.
We had 2 special guests in the studio the other day, Tom Cole, Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and also Gabriele Formicone. He's Director of Technology and Innovation at Integra Technologies. They both joined us to discuss a very interesting new technology, their high voltage GaN. So let's take a look at a clip from that video now. So you are targeting just the really high power RF. What is the ultimate that this process can achieve, and how do you address the thermal issues associated with these really high power densities?
Absolutely, I can answer that. Integra has been working on this development for at least the last 5 years. We have optimized the AP design, die design, filter plates, drift region. We've also looked at several gate lengths from 1 micron, half micron, quarter micron. We also have published results in this type of development. And we have demonstrated power density from 10 watts to 20 watts per millimeter from UHF to LS, probably C and X bands. One of the examples I can mention, some of the latest developments, we have designed to build 50 millimeter single devices, this is single die, that we have characterized over several frequencies in the UHF type domain. We've seen that with this device can operate at 100 volts in CW mode and generates more than 500 watts output power.
Impressive.
We can also operate at 150 volts in pulse mode to achieve with the single die over 1 kilowatt. I think Integra's design team has done an outstanding job to match the harmonics and achieve 80% efficiency. Within this framework, we achieve over 20 dB gain. And yes, there is a concern about how do we extract the heat. However, Integra, besides high voltage GaN on silicon carbide, has also been exploring innovative solutions on the thermal management side, and has basically been able to patent a technology, a thermal enhancement technology approach, which allows heat extraction from the active region of the die to extract it laterally and still dissipate it on the bottom flange of the package. So we don't need a top heat sink in the device. The technology does not rely, if you want, on graphite or diamond matrix type of composites as for heat spreaders. Also does not necessarily rely on this copper flange type of packages.
That's a great technology that Integra Technologies is working on, high voltage GaN. It might change the landscape of how very high power systems are made.
Yeah, very impressive.
So turning to the news on the 5G front, I think I mentioned last time that GSA is tracking more than 100 5G commercially available devices, ranging from drones and robots to PCs and handsets. And they just recently added that they have seen more than 39 3GPP compliant 5G networks that are commercially available around the world. So we're really seeing the pace of 5G picking up as the year goes on. We also saw the FCC chairman announce that he is proposing that we maintain the same health and safety standards for RF emissions for 4G and 5G. They've done a lot of studies and determined that it's safe for both types of networks.
Yeah, I've seen some press where there's a concern about that, particularly millimeter wave in Europe. I haven't seen so much here in the US, so it's good that the FCC is kind of getting ahead of that.
Yeah. What did you see in the news?
Well, the Huawei mess gets messier. A lot of things are happening. The Bureau of Industry and Security announced that they're adding 46 more Huawei affiliates to the entity list. At the same time, they extended this temporary general license for another 90 days, trying to give people more time to, if you're a telecom operator, move to other equipment, or if you have a Huawei handset, cell phone, presumably go buy some other cell phone. But anyway, there's another 90-day reprieve to allow people to maintain and upgrade those systems. Near the end of July, the Commerce Secretary said that 35 companies have submitted 50 licenses for exporting products to Huawei. They didn't talk about how many were being approved, but they basically said with this license that most of them would be denied. The presumption is they'll be denied. It's really weird because it seems to be inconsistent. Some companies are reporting that they can make shipments, for example, where they're not viewed as critical to national security. It was weird in the Analog Devices earnings call. They said they can ship 4G parts, but they're not allowed to ship 5G parts. So who knows? And then Light Reading had an interesting estimate that more than $435 million in revenue, that's based on public announcements, was lost in this last quarter by US companies that were not able to ship to Huawei. Obviously, this is not good news. It's regardless of whether you think there's a national security issue, American companies are losing a lot of business. And if you look at some of the effects, certainly companies like Sumitomo are going to benefit on the GaN front compared to Qorvo and Wolfspeed. Even Keysight implied that they're seeing some issues where, some of their shipments are being delayed or held up. And of course, Anritsu and Rohde & Schwarz wouldn't have that issue. So I think long term, however this sorts out, it's going to have a negative impact on US companies.
Yeah, it's too bad. So turning to events, I want to remind everybody that Microwave Journal and sister publication Signal Integrity Journal will be hosting the first online RF and microwave conference, and it takes place September 10th through the 12th. And we'll have tracks featuring topics on 5G IoT, radar antennas and EMC, also power integrity and signal integrity, so something in there for everybody. Just a reminder that all the sessions are free to anybody to attend.
Right.
They will be recorded and on demand, so you can view them at any time afterwards, so it's convenient to view them. And they're also eligible for IEEE continuing education credits. So no reason not to attend. Go to edicononline.com and register today.
Yeah, I've been looking at some of the titles, a lot of good presentations. So before we wrap up, we also want to remind you that we have a podcast. You can listen to this episode while you're driving to work, and you don't have to worry about looking at the video and getting into a car wreck. You'll find us at podcast.microwavejournal.com. So check that out and subscribe. We want to thank you for watching this episode. We also want to thank Integra Technologies, our sponsor for this episode. As you know from the interview, they're doing some very innovative things in power, and they are optimizing efficiency. So check them out for your power needs. Until next time.